Welcome to the AI Campa Show Tech and AI. My name is Greg and I am the presenter Generate by AI. I am created by Luis Campanella. I hope you enjoy the episode is full interesting. Please subscribe and thank you.
All right, let's dive into the material you've shared with us.
Yeah, it's a really interesting collection.
It is. It focuses on something we all engage with constantly, right? Social media and the AI driving it.
The influence it has.
Exactly. Its influence on, our behavior, opinions, even just where our attention goes.
And these sources, they give a pretty clear look under the hood, so to speak, at how these systems actually operate.
They really do. So our mission here in this deep dive is to unpack what these sources reveal about those mechanisms, the AI, behind social media and the effects it's having.
And there's this sort of central question running through it all, isn't there?
Yeah. Is this AI mainly a tool that helps you find things, personalizes your experience? Or is it nudging you, subtly maybe, controlling what you see?
A kind of subtle control. Yeah, let's get into that.
Okay, so let's start with the engine itself. What is this AI we're talking about?
Right. So the sources are mostly talking about machine learning algorithms. This isn't future tech. It's what's running your feeds right now on TikTok, X, Instagram, YouTube.
The things deciding what pops up next when you scroll.
Precisely. And how they work, according to this material, is by analyzing basically everything you do on the platform.
Like what?
Likes, comments, shares, who you follow, but also, really importantly, just how long you pause on a video or an image. Even a fraction of a second tells it something.
That's the interaction data.
Exactly. And it's incredibly valuable to the system.
And the main goal, looking at these sources, seems pretty straightforward.
Extremely focused. It's about predicting what specific piece of content is most likely to make you keep scrolling.
Because more scrolling equals
more attention on the platform, which means more opportunities to show you ads. That's the core business model, really.
So it's this constant feedback loop.
A very powerful one. Every single time you scroll, pause, comment, anything that data gets fed right back into the algorithm.
So you're essentially training the AI yourself.
Constantly, in real time, making it smarter, faster, better at predicting what will hook your attention next.
Okay, so this is where it gets tricky. That central question again. Is this just good personalization or is it manipulation?
That's the heart of it. The AI is showing you stuff it thinks you'll like based on past behavior, but is that truly helping you discover things you genuinely value?
Or is it just guiding you towards content the algorithm calculates will maximize your screen time?
Right, because those two things aren't always the same. Personalization feels great, it's convenient, you see relevant stuff.
Saves time, yeah.
But the flip side, as these sources really emphasize, is the creation of echo chambers.
Right. Explain that a bit more.
Well, if it keeps showing you more and more of the same kinds of opinions, the same styles, the same topics you've already engaged with,
then you stop seeing other stuff, different perspectives.
Exactly. It limits your exposure. And the sources argue this is how misinformation can spread so effectively, or how more extreme views can gain traction.
Because the algorithm isn't judging the content, just the engagement it gets.
Precisely. It suggests you're not always actively choosing, you're being sort of fed content down a path optimized by the system.
And it's not just reflecting what humans are doing. The AI itself can push trends.
Yeah, that's a fascinating point in the material. Based on its own learning and what maximizes engagement signals, the AI can actually start amplifying certain types of content or trends, even if they weren't initially popular. It learns what works to keep eyes glued.
And the sources mention specific examples, don't they? Like around elections or the pandemic.
They do. They point to how this algorithmic amplification might have played a role in circulating certain narratives during the 2020 U.S. election, for instance.
How so?
By identifying content that got strong reactions, likes, shares, comments, even angry ones, and then pushing that content out more widely because high engagement signals success to the algorithm.
Regardless of whether the content was true or helpful.
Correct. Similar dynamics were noted with conspiracy theories or certain health trends during the pandemic. It's the mechanism itself. Engage with it once, see more like it. If many people engage, it spreads further.
And the key thing is, most of us scrolling, we don't even see this happen.
It's largely invisible. It just feels like your feed.
Let's talk about the psychology then. The sources get into how these platforms are designed.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just the content, it's the whole structure. They're built to tap into our brain's reward pathways. Dopamine, specifically.
That feeling of pleasure or reward.
Yes. Think about the notifications, the little red dots, the likes rolling in, the infinite scroll. It's all designed as a feedback loop.
which the AI optimizes.
Constantly. It learns exactly what timing, what type of notification, what kind of content snippet keeps you coming back for more. It's not just delivering information, it's actively managing your attention span.
And that's why it can feel addictive, hard to stop.
Exactly. It explains that feeling of, okay, just one more scroll, even when you know you should put the phone down.
The sources use an analogy for this, right?
Yeah, the slot machine effect. It's perfect. You pull down to refresh your feed, like pulling the lever on a slot machine, and you might get something great. A funny video, a message from a friend, validating news.
Right. It's unpredictable.
That unpredictability, the intermittent reward, is incredibly powerful for hooking the brain. It keeps you swiping, hoping for that next hit.
So when you put the psychology together with the AI, optimizing for pure engagement.
The conclusion from these sources is pretty stark. You get systems designed primarily for maximum screen time, not necessarily for user well-being or learning or connection. Engagement is the ultimate goal.
Which explains that slightly creepy feeling sometimes, where the feed seems to know what you want before you do.
Right. It's not mind reading. It's just extremely sophisticated pattern matching and prediction based on enormous amounts of data about your past clicks, scrolls, and pauses.
It can feel like the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself.
In a narrow predictive sense, maybe it does. It anticipates what you'll react to.
And the sources describe this as a kind of progression.
Yeah, from convenience to influence, it starts feeling helpful, making things easy. But gradually, this constant, optimized stream of content starts shaping your tastes, your decisions, maybe even your mood.
All driven by code you never see.
Which leads back to that fundamental question again. When you're scrolling, who's really in charge? You or the system designed to capture your attention?
Especially since basically every major app uses some version of this AI.
You're immersed in these engineered environments everywhere you go online, each one vying for your eyeballs.
So let's talk real-world impact. What are the consequences discussed in the material?
They bring up some very concrete examples. One is the case study involving the Facebook whistleblower.
Right, I remember that.
Who revealed internal research suggesting Instagram could negatively impact teenage girls' mental health, body image issues, that kind of thing.
And the algorithm's role.
The sources suggest that even with that internal knowledge, the algorithm could continue serving content that might worsen those feelings because that content often generated high engagement.
Wow. Okay. Any other examples?
Yes, there's mention of multiple studies on TikTok specifically. Research showing how quickly a user, sometimes within minutes, could be pushed towards potentially harmful content, like related to self-harm or eating disorders, just by interacting with a few initial videos on related themes. The algorithm quickly picks up the signal and serves more.
Processed.
It highlights the speed and power of these systems. So the main takeaway here, stress in the sources, is that this isn't theoretical anymore.
This is happening now.
This AI is actively shaping experiences, influencing choices, and in some documented cases, linked to real harm.
Okay, so given all this, what can people actually do? Do the sources offer any strategies for, regaining some control?
They do shift towards that, yes, towards agency.
What's the first step?
Awareness seems to be number one. Just understanding that the system is designed to influence you, that your feed isn't random, that it's optimized for engagement. Knowing that is powerful.
Makes sense. What else?
Diversifying your sources, actively making an effort to follow accounts or people with different viewpoints, different styles.
To consciously break the echo chamber.
Exactly. Interrupt the algorithm's tendency to just feed you more of the same. It takes conscious effort.
And practically speaking.
Taking breaks, logging off, stepping away. The sources emphasize remembering your own value isn't measured by likes or engagement metrics.
There's a quote mentioned, something about the user.
Yes, a really strong statement. You are not the product, you are the user. Holding on to that idea, that distinction, is presented as really crucial.
You're the one using the tool, not the thing being sold.
Right, and it connects to a broader call to action mentioned in the material too.
Which is?
Demanding more from the platforms themselves, more transparency about how the algorithms work, more accountability for their impact.
Because a different approach is possible. Ethical AI.
The sources suggest it is, but it requires fundamental changes. Transparency, accountability, and designing these systems with human well-being as a primary goal, not just engagement.
Right, not just as an afterthought.
Exactly, a human-centered design approach.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive into the sources really paints a picture of these powerful, often hidden AI systems shaping so much of our online lives.
It definitely gives you a clear view of the forces at play every time you pick up your phone and open one of those apps.
It really does. And it leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to consider building on these themes. If these algorithms are constantly getting better at optimizing for our attention, learning from our every glance and click, what practices can we start cultivating consciously in our own lives to make sure we remain the ones deciding where that incredibly valuable attention actually goes?
That's a really important question to ask ourselves. Who's driving?